The MINX function evaluates an expression on each row and then will return the smallest value. The syntax is MINX, your table of which you'd like to iterate across, and the expression. This is going to return the smallest value. So again, this is similar to min. We're trying to find the smallest thing, but X allows us to bring in some row context. Kind of imagine it like someone who's really trying to find a needle in a haystack, and it's the smallest one. But it has to also be a particular color. That would be extremely difficult because you're looking at these two variations to figure out a result. That is what MINX can do for you. An example that you can see is a minimum adjusted score. For this, we might look at customer feedback. I want to find on the customer feedback table, what was their satisfaction minus any negative scores. And that minimum value would let me know who's not getting the best customer feedback. I also could imagine roller coasters, a little bit more of a fun example. And I want to figure out what is the best possible ride, but I also want to make sure that it's not a certain age restriction. This is a little bit more of an additional example where we'd bring in an if statement, a logical statement that allows us to return a result if the test is true and a separate result if false. In that example, we can figure out that certain rides might be really thrilling, but we don't love their age restriction. And we could set that up in a number of ways. But for now, let's go ahead and build it on our data set. All right, so now I'm looking at MINX here, and I've already brought in from before my minimum sales was about $2.29. Now, what I'm going to want to do is go over to my measures table and make a new measure. We're going to go ahead and call this one MINX. I'll put that in parentheses so we remember we're at MINX. And we're going to assess what is the sale, but we're also going to bring into consideration the taxes we had to pay on the product or subtract that from the total sales amount. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in my MINX. I'm going to find in this the smallest value while providing my table and then my expression. So we're going to do the fact internet sales table to iterate across. And we're going to consider what is the sales amount minus the taxes. Each sales amount is different. Each tax amount is different. We need to assess that down the table and get our result. So we'll bring in fact internet sales, sales amount, subtracting the fact internet sales tax amount. Now, we know from earlier in the min function that our minimum amount is about $2.29. And we can see that here in our minimum sales. But what I'll bring in is this MINX, and let's see, if we account for taxes, what actually was the minimum sale amount? About $2.11. If I bring that into the table, looks to be the same. And as usual with these, if I bring in another layer of detail like the year, we can see even more variations. This is the beauty of that MINX function, is now I can consider a whole host of new items and calculations in that expression portion. That's awesome.